It's 9:48 on the first Saturday of the month, and your statement is open on your phone before the coffee's even warm. You scroll straight to the part you actually care about. The minimum due, $183.80. You pay it on time, like the responsible adult you are, and you feel that small flicker of, okay, handled. Then your eye snags on a little gray box near the bottom, the one you've never once read. It says that if you only ever pay this minimum, you'll be carrying this exact balance for 18 years. Jake read that box for the first time last spring. He'd been paying on time for 6 years. Here's what that box is too polite to say out loud. Paying only the minimum isn't paying it down. It's renting your own debt for 18 years. The bank is required by law to print that warning, so they do. A calm gray box in a calm gray font, parked down by the customer service number, like a storm warning for a flood that's already in your living room. Most people see minimum due and feel relief. You made the payment, you're handling it. But the minimum was never built to get you to zero. It was built to keep you paying, slowly, calmly, for almost 2 decades. At Mr. Sense, we spend way too much time reading the fine print banks hope you skip. So if you've ever made a payment and watched the balance refuse to move, subscribe. We break down one money trap every day, so you see the next one coming. So let's open that statement up and read the part they're hoping you never run the math on. Start with the balance. The average person with a credit card is carrying about $6,500 on it, and that's per person. Count it by household, and the number climbs higher. We'll use $6,580 because that's the real average. And real is the whole point. Now the rate, not the friendly number on the glossy mailer. The rate on the money people actually carry, which is about 21.5%. APR just means the yearly price of borrowing, and 21.5% is a price that would get a guy on a street corner arrested and gets a bank a nice logo. New cards right now are dangling rates closer to 24%, in case you were feeling optimistic about the future. Here's the engine that runs the whole trap. Your minimum is roughly 1% of the balance plus that month's interest. On $6,580, the interest alone this month is $118. The principal, the actual money you borrowed, gets just $65.80. Add them together and that's your minimum, $183.80. Now look at the split, because the split is the entire con. Of that responsible payment, $118 is pure interest, and only $65.80 touches what you owe. That's 64 cents of every dollar going nowhere. One more time, slower. Of every single dollar in your minimum payment, 64 cents never reduces your debt at all. Picture a bucket with a hole the size of the faucet. Most of what you pour in runs straight out the bottom before it ever fills anything. Go look at your own last payment. Whatever you sent them, a little under 2/3 of it didn't move your balance an inch. There's a name for this. We call it the minimum maze. And here's the cruelest wall in the maze. Hold on to this one sentence because it's the whole thing. Because the minimum is a slice of the balance, the more you pay, the smaller the minimum gets. So the finish line keeps backing away from you. You walk toward the exit, and the exit walks away at exactly your speed. This is where Diana comes in. Diana's a single mom, and her debt didn't come from anything fun. No vacation, no shopping spree. It came from a car repair in a month when childcare and groceries already cost more than the paycheck could stretch to cover. That's how most of this actually starts. The number one reason people carry a balance isn't splurging, it's an emergency, or just the price of the week. There were months Diana looked at that balance and thought about throwing an extra 50 at it. And then the gas light came on, or the school sent home a form with a number on it, and the 50 went where 50s go. So she paid the minimum and told herself next month. She is doing exactly what she was told to do, and the maze is built so that doing exactly what she was told keeps her walking in circles. Maybe you're thinking this is a problem for people who don't earn much. So meet Sarah. Sarah's a nurse. She clears about $93,600 a year. Real money. She got caught the same way after a couple of thin months, and she scrolls past her own statement faster than anyone. The way you look away from a mirror in bad light. Sarah knows she makes good money, which is exactly why the balance embarrasses her. So she files it in a drawer in her head labeled, "I'll deal with it," and pays the minimum to keep the drawer shut. The maze doesn't check your income at the door, and somewhere across that statement sits the bank manager. Not a villain twirling a mustache, just a guy whose whole quarter looks a little better every time you choose the minimum. So understand what the minimum actually is. It isn't a break the bank is doing you. It's the setting that pays them the most, printed as the default, with that calm gray warning box bolted on so that later, nobody can say they didn't tell you. Read the box again and notice what it doesn't say. It tells you how long the minimum takes, but it never once mentions that a flat, fixed payment would cut those 18 years down to 1. The box is the alibi. The default is the business. And Diana and Sarah and Jake aren't unusual. they're the norm. Americans are carrying about $1.25 trillion on their cards right now, more than the entire economy of most countries on Earth. Of the people who carry a balance, most are not climbing out fast. About 6 in 10 have been in card debt for more than a year, and 1 in 5 have been stuck in it for more than 5. And remember, that's among people already in debt, not everyone with a card. The share of people paying only the minimum is the highest it's been in over a decade. Add it all up, and in a single year, Americans handed the card companies about $160 billion in interest alone. The maze isn't a glitch, it's the product. The way out is exactly one move, and it's almost embarrassingly simple. We'll get there. But first you have to see how deep this thing really goes. So let's walk Jake all the way through it. Same $6,580. He never misses a payment. He never adds a single new charge. He just pays the minimum the box allows every month like clockwork. Year 1, 12 payments, everyone on time. He's handed the bank a little over $2,000, and the balance has dropped from $6,580 to about $5,830. A whole year of payments moved at about $750 because the rest of what he paid was almost all interest. Keep walking. 5 years in, he's still carrying more than $3,600. 10 years in, a decade of never missing, and Jake still owes nearly $2,000 on a card he stopped using back in year 1. Think about what a decade is. A kid born the month Jake bought that thing is in 4th grade by the time he's barely past the halfway wall. Now run it all the way to the end. The YAF, paying only the minimum, Jake clears that $6,580 balance in 223 months. That's 18 and a half years. Along the way, he pays about $10,300 in interest, more than the balance itself. All in, he hands the bank around $16,900 to make a $6,580 balance disappear. That's not a typo. He pays for it about 2.5 times over, $16,900. The price of a used car or a year of community college, built out of nothing but on-time payments. And that's only the money that leaves his pocket. The interest alone, as if that same money had gone into a plain, boring investment at a steady return instead of into the maze, could have grown to somewhere around $32,000 over those same 18 years. The maze doesn't only cost you what you hand the bank, it quietly costs you everything that money would have become. Congratulations! Somewhere in year 3, Jake is still financing a dinner he doesn't remember eating. The couch he put on the card will sit at the curb 4 years before it's finally paid off. And the cost was never only the dollars. Carrying a balance for years is tied, in study after study, to higher stress and anxiety. The quiet weight of a number that won't move no matter what you do. The part that should make you a little angry is that Jake did nothing reckless. He paid on time every month for 18 years. The math was the villain, not the man. So this is the moment to open your own statement and find that box. The number in it is yours. A good chunk of you are already arguing with the screen. Good. The minimum payment is a feature, not a trap. It gives you flexibility in a tight month. Nobody's forcing you to pay only the minimum. And that's not wrong. Here's the strong version of it. The minimum legally can't dig you deeper. By design, it always covers the month's interest and chips at least a little off what you owe. So the balance can never grow on its own. Economists who dug into the actual accounts found that close to a third of people pay at or near the minimum, and a real share of them aren't being foolish at all. They're genuinely short that month, smoothing a shock the only way they've got. Banks call the credit card a shock absorber, and when the shock is a medical bill or a dead transmission, that's a fair description. So here's what's true. In the month the emergency actually lands, the minimum is exactly the right lever. It keeps you current, it protects your credit, and it buys you time. If the real choice is the minimum or a missed payment, take the minimum every single time. But here's the catch. The flexibility argument quietly skips. Researchers ran the test, and just showing you a minimum payment number drags your payment down. People shown a minimum pay less than people shown no number at all. The box isn't neutral. It's an anchor dropped right onto your decision. So flexibility for the hard month slowly hardens into the setting for every month, and the emergency brake becomes the way you drive. The lever is fine. Living on it is the maze, which hands you a clean rule. Use the minimum only in the month you genuinely can't do more. And the very next month, set a fixed payment and never let it shrink again. The minimum is an emergency brake. It was never meant to be cruise control. Before we walk out, give the design its due. An exit that retreats exactly as fast as you approach it, wrapped in a label so polite that nobody can sue. You almost have to respect it. Almost. Here's how you beat it. Remember, the maze moves 2 things on you. It shrinks your payment and it keeps charging interest. Freeze either one and the maze stops moving. There are two ways out. Way 1, freeze the payment. Pick a fixed dollar amount and pay that exact number every month, no matter how low the minimum drops. Watch what that does for Jake. Instead of a shrinking $183, he pays a flat $614 a month. Same balance, same rate. He's out in 12 months and he pays about $800 in interest instead of $10,300. Nothing changed except that the payment stopped shrinking. He didn't earn a dollar more. He just stopped letting the finish line move. The first month he pays the fixed number instead of the minimum. Nothing even feels different. Same payday, a little less left over. But for the first time in years, the balance moves like it means it. And if $614 is out of reach, the rule still works at any number you can hold. Whatever you pay this month, pay at least that much next month. A payment that never shrinks is the entire escape. Way 2, freeze the interest. Move the balance onto a card with a 0% intro rate. That's a balance transfer. One card pays off another and hands you a stretch with no interest piling on. Right now, the longest offers run 18 to 21 months at 0%. There's a one-time fee, usually 3 to 5% of what you move, on Jake's balance, somewhere between about $200 and $330. It isn't free money. The fee is real, and you have to actually clear it inside the window or the rate snaps back. But trading $10,300 in interest for a couple hundred in fee is the kind of deal that only looks too good because you've been losing for so long. Every dollar you pay for that year and a half lands straight on the principal. Watch Jake actually do it. He picks the fixed payment because it's one decision he makes exactly once. He sets an automatic transfer for the day after payday, the same amount every month, and he deletes the card from his phone so a thin week can't sweet-talk him back into the maze. 18 years becomes a little over 1. That's the whole trick, and it's exactly why the maze needs you confused to work. Paying it down was never about paying more forever. It's about not letting the payment shrink. So go back to that little gray box at the bottom of your statement, the one that said 18 years. It was never lying to you. It was telling you the plan in the calmest possible font, betting you'd never run the numbers yourself. Now you have. Pick a payment that doesn't shrink or freeze the interest for a year and a half. And that box stops saying 18 years and starts saying 1. That's the entire difference between 18 years and 1, a payment that refuses to get smaller. The minimum was never paying it down. It was renting it back to you, one calm payment at a time. If you'd rather your money made you richer than it makes your bank's shareholders, subscribe. The exit was never far away. It was just walking at exactly your speed until the morning you finally decided to stop matching it.